Hello and welcome to Fight for the House. My name is Jack LaMorte. I'm here with Dan Brinkman, and this is the 15th episode. We've already gone through 15 of these, Dan. We're covering a lot of stuff here.
Cruising right
Um,
along.
yeah, today we'll be talking about Illinois' 13th Congressional District, which has Regan, who's the Republican, uh, facing off against Nikki Budzinski, who is the Democrat. Um, so I will talk a little bit about the district and what it looks like. Um, so actually, Dan, do you want to talk about your signature operation first before I go into that?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny. In 2016, when I was running a signature operation in Plainfield for a redistricting reform measure that was hoping to get on the ballot for the state, I think they needed like a 500,000 or 600,000 signatures. Um, so I would illustrate to the employees or the signature people that I had working for me what gerrymandering is by showing them obviously a map. It's easier to visualize gerrymandering. And the district I was always point to highlight the concept of politicians selecting voters rather than the other way around was none other than the previous iteration of the Illinois 13th. Um, so the district used to be it actually used to look much less gerrymandered than it does now, which is kind of funny. Did you want to talk a little bit about the district itself, Jack? Since you're in
Yeah,
it right now.
I am in it right now. So it covers the University of Illinois. Um, how far north does it go though, Dan?
It doesn't snake too much north of. I think Champaign is probably the northern extent. I think.
Okay, so it goes more south of where I'm at.
Yeah, it goes all the way to East St. Louis.
Oh, yes. Okay, yeah. So, I mean, my area, other than the campus itself, is going to be mostly farmlands. When I'm driving down from DuPage, it's just cornfields on either side of you. I mean, it's that's a big part of it. But like we said, it covers Eastern St. Louis. Um, I mean,
which
it's
which
got
is
Decatur.
traditionally the
Yeah,
East St. Louis or St. Clair County is traditionally like the second most Democrat county in the state of Illinois.
yeah,
I think it was either 2010 or 2014 um, for the governor's race. You had Democrats only winning two counties in the whole state, which was Cook County, which is where the lion's share of the population is, and St. Clair, which is East St. Louis. So no surprise that they try to jam St. Clair County into this district.
yeah. That's true. I mean, I mean that's what gerrymandering's all is going to be all about. I mean, it's going to try and capture those Democratic voters and kind of screw the Republicans a little bit, but that's okay. um, but yeah, it covers Decatur. It does have Springfield, which is the state's capital, which has a higher than average number of government employees. Um, it is also, oddly enough, home to not Springfield, but Decatur is home to Warren Buffett's son, Howard, who has taken an interest in the town. And like we said, it has Urbana-Champaign, which is the home of the University of Illinois with its 44,000 students.
Which, I mean,
Um,
it's no surprise they would try to throw a giant
well, of
university
course.
in a district. How are they going to vote? I
Yeah, I wonder.
don't know.
Well, you'll have to subtract one from that with me, but
That's
other
right.
than that.
Hopefully, more than just you over
Yeah.
there.
But yeah, speaking of Republicans that are in the district, do you want to talk about our Republican candidate?
Yeah. So in the 13th, we got Regan Deering. Not sure if it's Regan or Reagan. There's no A, so I'm going to go with Regan, who's a first time candidate, but was actually pretty adeptly able to navigate a contentious primary, winning it by, albeit a little narrowly, by 684 votes. She characterizes herself as just wife, mom, small business owner, and a fighter. She's a mom of three, worked previously as an educator. And this really comes through in her answers to debate or reporter questions. She doesn't really get flustered. She stays on point, stays on message. And she really hasn't lost the common touch in her tone like candidates who are too long removed from the people they hope to represent. She really does sound like a regular person. Um, she also has a major advantage that we saw in a couple other episodes ago. of being able to self-fund her campaign. Her personal net worth, according to a Democrat Abo research report, actually, a 99-page report, had her personal net worth between $35 and $142 million. Despite her resources, though, Regan doesn't seem to have a lot of the disadvantages of detachment as a candidate that usually come from that kind of wealth, especially generational wealth, as it seems that is. So, I mean, as recently as late last year, she was still working a regular job. Usually, the extreme wealth can blind a candidate. You often see some of your worst candidates are your wealthiest candidates. It just really creates kind of a phalanx of inoffensiveness around the people that possess it. Nobody's going to tell the candidate they're wrong or being an idiot or about to make some mistake. So they really wind up being ill-served by people afraid to offend them. So it then creates a weakness and a softness in the candidate, and you see this as well in long-term incumbents who haven't had to get in a real fight for a long time. People that have been in Congress for a while, you see it, which is actually a fairly recent innovation in Congress. Congress people didn't used to be as detached. The large staffs that they're starting to get since I think the 1970s is when congressional staff started to really balloon. So that's led to the isolation in those instances too. So if you see a congressperson that's winning by slim margins and want to run against them, and they've been in for a while, you might have a shot. Who knows?
Yeah.
But honestly, there's an earnest decency to Deering that's kind of rare to see in politics today. Hopefully she doesn't lose it. She's definitely an unabashed conservative. She's pro-life, 100%. And that's actually informed by her being adopted at 2 days old. She was an advocate for life at the national level. Recently, she also joined a lawsuit against Pritzker for some of the COVID restrictions. In the Second Amendment, she's pretty good at redirecting hostile questions to mental health crisis instead of leaping toward bans like some other weaker candidates might do. And she really does, she hammers the kitchen table issues. She does a really good job of that. Did you notice that as well, Jack?
Yeah, I did. I mean, she's talking about inflation. She's talking about the cost of living for regular people. And she points to the government overreach, talking about excessive regulation and excessive spending as a source of many of the problems, which Dan and I love to see candidates talk about that. I mean, those are the issues that are really going to directly affect the most voters.
Yeah, and
So
put
it's
it
nice to see.
and they put it in words that the people
Right.
will relate to in situations that they'll themselves understand. I mean, I think it was a Harry Truman line that you learn more about everything by just putting yourself in the other person's shoes. I mean, it's a pretty old adage. I mean, it's as old as time itself, but I mean, it is so true in politics. I mean, if you're on a campaign or if you're doing anything, try to imagine yourself as the person you're running against. How would they react? What would they do? How would they feel? Do the same with the voters. I mean, it's a surefire way that it's a very simple thing, but it's something people in the cocoon of campaigns forget quite a bit. But you want to talk a little bit about the Democrat Nikki Budzinski in this race? And it sounds like you're getting bombarded by her ads, Jack.
Yeah, I have been. So Nikki Budzinski is the Democrat in the race. Yeah, I mean, I'm constantly seeing her ads on YouTube. I mean,
Are
it
they any
is
good
nice.
or?
Well, here's the thing. She definitely runs as a moderate in those ads, at least. I mean, she's talking about inflation in her ads, because she's talking about how her family used to love going to Dairy Queen all the time. I'm sure her family still goes to Dairy Queen all the time, but maybe some of the constituents' families aren't. But she says that she can't go as much anymore because I'm trying to think how she phrases it. She's saying like simple items such as ice cream are unattainable or something like that nowadays.
Wow, she
and she's
can't afford a
talking about,
$4.
yeah, right.
Yeah, wow.
But
Things must be really tough with the Budzinski campaign.
apparently so. But I mean, it's just funny because I mean they're the ones who are causing the inflation. I mean, they're the ones in power right now. So it's just funny to see the Democrats talk about it. And she says that she's going to be working in depthly to fight price rises. So
And she's literally the person that's been
yes,
doing some of this stuff, as you'll talk about. I mean, it's
yes,
astonishing.
yes. She worked for both Biden in the Office of Management and the budget, but she also works for Governor J.B. Pritzker. So I mean, she is the one doing stuff like this. So I mean, I don't know, man. It's just it's not a very thoughtful ad, I guess I would say. Um, she is from Peoria, though. She's originally from Peoria. She lives in Springfield now. Um, and before she worked for Biden and Pritzker, she was a she devoted 10 years of her life to the labor movement. Representative Rodney Davis alleges that Budzinski helped Mike Madigan and his allies with jobs in state government from her perch in the Pritzker administration. Do you know any more about that little story there, Dan?
No, I just heard the hit, which was asked of her in one of the debates that she was in, and
Yeah.
I think she brushed it off, acting like that was not a thing that they did. Which, like, I mean, whatever. I mean, it's clearly
Yeah.
something you do. I mean, I mean, there used to be patronage offices in the state for that exact purpose. I mean, a lady I know very well, who is the wife of the Senate president in Illinois. Her job in the 1960s was patronage director. Like, her job was literally to give out jobs.
Oh man. That's funny. um going off of that though, she's a social democrat too. She's totally on board with the progressive orthodoxy. She's pro-abortion. She veils it in phrases like access to healthcare. Um, but I mean, she does attempt to focus on the kitchen table issues, like I mentioned, with inflation, and a farm bill that will go into effect in the district next year. Um, but I mean, it seems like her ways of solving this are just with government can solve everything. Um, and I don't know. We've seen that that doesn't work, and so hopefully Deering can hammer her on these issues. I mean, I don't know. She's not really. She is running decent ads because if you don't know anything about her, you'll be like, "Oh, a Democrat who actually cares about me." But you know,
Yeah,
once you look into her, it's not all that great.
it's a shame, but not unexpected, right?
No, not at all. Should we talk about some of the financials of this race?
Yeah, sure. So in this race, Regan Deering spent 436,000 to get through her primary and only had 37,000 on hand immediately after her primary in June. That kind of obscures the truth of it. I mean, obviously, we know Deering can basically pull money out of the sky to rain it down on Budzinski. Hopefully, she does so. But I mean, the financials reporting numbers uh, were for end of June, and Illinois' primary was like the third week of June. So a lot of these numbers are going to be a little skewed low. So don't think like, oh wow, she's getting blown out. But Budzinski had a sizable cash on hand advantage coming out of her primary. She spent $1 million to clear the primary and has another million on hand as of the end of June. So she must have been pretty confident that she didn't need to blow through the rest of it to secure her victory. Which, I mean, I've been in races where a candidate spent, I think it was a state rep race, and the candidate spends, I think he had $60,000. Bruce Rauner gave him a lot of his money in that race, and his other opponent had 50,000. She spent through every cent of hers. He left 5,000 on the table, and then he winds up losing by like a couple hundred votes. So better be confident if if you don't burn through that cash, because if you're not confident, better be safe than sorry in situations like that.
Yeah. Um, do you
But
want to talk a little bit about the polls here, or
yeah. So Real Clear has this race as a toss up. Fox News has it in the leans Dem column. And 538 has Budzinski winning kind of an astonishing like 91 out of 100 statistical models, leaving Deering only winning in 9 out of 100. So I think that's probably a little bullish on the Dems, just because you saw really contentious. I mean, there were a lot of people vying for the spot in the primary, and you generally don't see that in races that are not going to be competitive. And as we said in other videos, the generic ballot numbers have shifted in the last week quite considerably toward Republicans. So hopefully, an updated Nate Silver statistical models, they have Deering closing quite a bit. But I don't know. I think Deering's a strong candidate. She's got a nice decency, simple decency to her. She's got a knowledge and aggressiveness on issues, and definitely's got the money to win. So hopefully she can in this district. Did you have any final thoughts on it, Jack?
um, I don't think so. I think we covered it all.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us on another edition of Dan and Jack talking congressional districts. Hope you join us again, and God bless. Thanks.